wanted to have a reason to do it, truthfully, and the reason was that we had been experimenting. I think since the Dehumanizer album with Sabbath, the experimentation continued from that into Strange Highways and then desperately into Angry Machines. Luckily, we had a live album in between that. And the experimental part, came in great part because our guitar player was a lot more of an industrial player, not really from the mold of Vivian or from Craig or from Richie or from those kind of players that I played with before.
Right.
And so I think that the music got a bit confusing. There were like 5 years of times when people would, I'd speak to them after the show and they would say, we like the album, but you could tell that they didn't really like it, but they're such great fans that they'd say they did. And, well, are you going to do another like a Holy Diver album? So when you hear it enough times, you realize that really is what they want to hear, and that perhaps maybe experimentation had gone too far, and I think that was exactly the case. So to do this one, it was time to do. It needed to be a reason for me to do this particular album, and the reason to harken back to olden days or to Holy Diver days or to even Rainbow days, which a lot of this reminds me of, and I consciously wanted it to be. I didn't want people to say, oh, well, he couldn't survive in the modern world, so had to do that old album again. Well, with the concept, and there was no other way, nothing else to do but to do fantasy kind of writing, because it's a fantasy concept. Therefore, the songs needed to be fantasy in nature. It gave me a chance to really sing again. Plus the fact that we have Craig with us back again. And Craig just gave to me all the things I needed to be able to write this kind of material again. Not that Tracy wasn't a great guitar player, because in my mind he was. He was just, the wrong guitar player for this band, and he'll go on to do some great things for himself. And initially had Craig and Tracy in the band, but Craig said yes, and Tracy said no. I just can't play with the guitar player. It wasn't Craig that he couldn't play with, but he just didn't feel he could play with another player, and I don't blame him at all. It's a very personal thing. It's like singing with another singer. So when he was gone, Craig was there, and with Craig, he gave back to me all the things that were necessary to make this kind of an album. So this was the reason for the concept, and the reason why this album is what it is.
In a purely a tone sense, I can't hear another guitar player that would have been able to make this album as good as it is.
No, I can't either. And you're the first person who said that. Other people maybe have hinted about it that way, but no one has really cut to the quick the way you just said. And that's very true. I cannot hear another guitar player at all doing this. I couldn't hear Richie doing this. I certainly couldn't hear Tony Iommi doing this. I could never hear Vivian doing this. I certainly couldn't hear Tracy doing this. The only other person that could have perhaps had a chance at doing it, but never could have done it the way Craig did, was Rowan Robertson, because Rowan was a great musician the way Craig is, and who, again, was one who loved Richie's playing, who loved the early DIO stuff, and he could have adapted that way. But Craig was so easily adaptable. It's what he wanted to do. It's what he was meant to do. And so you're absolutely right. That's a very good insight that you got there.
This time out on tour, are you going to see lots of younger kids or lots of...
Well, I think that's something that no band who has been around as long as we have should ever consider. I don't think you should ever consider that, because that sounds like the old Glenn Miller adage to me. Well, pretty soon these kids are going to come around. They're not going to want to listen to this crap. They're going to want to hear that old good music. Music, rock and roll music especially, is such a generational thing. Each generation must have its own music. I had my own music in my generation. You have yours. Everyone I know has their own generation. You must cling to what your peers are all about, and to think that this is going to attract this great multitude of this young generation, I think is a foolish thing for me to think about, and I don't think about it that way. I only think about it this way, that if you give good product, that there are going to be a lot of people, no matter how old or young they are going to like what you do, if this is the kind of music that they like. If it's hard rock, heavy metal music that you like, then you're going to like good hard rock, heavy metal music. So it will affect some people. I think that there are a lot of young people out there now of this generation who do appreciate music more than they did before, because just the way that the generation before got sick of heavy metal music because it was always on MTV, because it was always being pumped down your throat, that's when they decided to, that's when it went to punk music perhaps, which was their own social comment. Or just in the same way now, I think that, this generation is embracing it a bit more because it is good, and perhaps they're getting a little bit bored with some of the music that's being shoved down their throats. So, I see that we saw on the last tour that we did, which was in Europe, which was ourselves, Motorhead, and Man of War, three bands that have not just started yesterday, but we saw lots of young kids at the show. We saw a lot of people who were, the age that should have been there, who remembered these bands from their generation. But we saw a lot of young people at the shows. We see a lot of young people at the shows that we played in America. but not to the point where we should kid ourselves and think that, wow, we're capturing those kids. I mean, nobody wants to see their dad or their grandfather on the stage. They don't want to see it. I wouldn't want to. So you've got to be sensible about it. You know, I don't think that we're going to be capturing this generation of people, but I think that anyone who likes the good rock and roll music that we've always made and others like us have made, I think that they'll appreciate it. Yeah.
Look back at your involvement with the original heavy metal movie.
Well, certainly it was a great time of my life. Anyway, I mean, I think we kind of gauge our lives upon the good times, and that was a time when we were riding very high in Sabbath. At that point, we had done Heaven and Hell, and this band had been brought back up to respectability, which was very important to me. I'm sure it was important to the rest of them as well, but certainly I think it was more important to me than it was to them. I think I cared more for their band than even they did. So it was a very happy time when we recorded the song "Mob Rules" for that. We recorded it at what used to be John Lennon's house in Ascot, which was then bought by Ringo Starr. So when we recorded there, it was called Startling Studios. It was Ringo's house, and it was a place where the video Imagine was done, where Yoko and John, were the white piano and all that. And it was an amazing place. And of course, the Beatles were among my heroes of all time. And so there we were. So again, a very happy time. We recorded the song there. First, we had gone to Warner Brothers. We were signed to Warner Brothers at the time, and they showed us the parts of the heavy metal film itself, and told us, well, you can choose what you'd like to do. Well, we saw the part for Mob Rules, and well, actually, I think I'm the only one who went, so I guess I chose the one that was Mob Rules. And we wrote the song, eventually Mob Rules, and it was when I first saw the presentation from Warner Bros. for the animation itself. It was a porn film. I mean, there was severe screwing going on in this one. I mean, there were members all over the place in this one, and eventually they had to really take it back a bit, because otherwise it would have got a rating that would have been like XXX or something, and no one would have gone to see it. And it was an animated film, of course. So we chose that particular song for it, and it was very easy to do. Much like this album that I've just done the concept. If you have a plan, if you have a concept, it makes it so much easier to follow along that plan. And this was very easy to do. We wrote the song in, I think, one day, recorded it in 2 days, and then went off on the road, because we were in England at the time, and there it was. And we just felt it was really perfect for what it was all about. The song just really worked. It was one of those very fortunate things.
$40 million for what most people out there who aren't involved with film are going to say is a cartoon. That's a lot of money.
It is. I don't remember how much the first one cost. I bet it was pretty close. I don't know, probably was like $20 million or something like that.
Yeah, God, lots and lots of money.
Well, no, they didn't pay all the bands a whole lot of money. I know that. So that part of the budget was real cheap. It was like $10 in a 6-pack or something.
They didn't even give you free tickets to go see it, huh?
Yeah. Well, we didn't even get a free ticket. No, actually, we did go. Did we see it? No, I don't. I think we went to see it. Yeah, we had a private screening, and it was, I think, yes, it had a private screening. All we waited for was the end of the credits. We saw our names on it, written by, this is my name, it's on the film, it's great, it's on the screen. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, I wasn't really, actually, I enjoyed the film. I did enjoy the film. I liked, I thought the Blue Oyster Cult section was really good. I liked that. It was actually very well done, very well done.
Right.
But that's my memories of that. This particular project leads me to that same area, which is that I would love to see this made into an animated film. The story itself, of course, fleshed out quite a bit more. And as far as directing it, I don't know if I'm, capable these days of, now that I see all the things that have been done. But again, graphic animation is so much less expensive, and it just has the tools are amazing out there. And I'd love to do it. I really would. And at least now I've got a story. Before there was not even a story, just a glimmer, but now there is one, and there's been some very good interest in the story itself, and I think they're even going to make do a game for it as well, like a Sega kind of thing.
A PC game. Oh wow.
Yeah, that would be very cool.
In this, you give the whole story. Did you give away too much, you think, maybe?
No, I think that you have to do that. That was probably going to be the danger. Not the danger, really, but the difficult part was that, now you can't hide around innuendos.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use this analogy and that analogy and hope that people are going to make their own judgment, which is what I've always tried to do with songs. I try to let people use their own imagination to deal with it somehow. But in this particular instance, I had to do it all. I had to write everything, and I enjoyed it much more